సార్ విజయ్ గారు లైవ్ లో వెళ్తున్నాము.
ఓకే సార్. Sir, any introduction or something like that?
I'll just give you an introduction, sir, then you will take over from there.
Okay, sir.
Good morning to you all. Welcome to the second edition of Talk the Book, the book review of the AP State Council of Higher Education. As all of us know, last Friday, this particular initiative of AP State Council of Higher Education, Talk the Book, was launched by Professor K. Hemchandra Reddy Garu, the chairman of AP State Council of Higher Education. And the first book review was done by Sri Vadrevu Chenevera Badrudu Garu on the book Toli Upadhyayudu. Today we are here for the second edition of the Talk the Book program, wherein the book reviewer is Dr. Vijay Babu Koganti, Professor of English, Government Degree College for Women, Guntur. The AP State Council of Higher Education not only is devising strategies for enhancing the academic excellence and technical competence of students, but is also devising strategies for the holistic development of a student. One such initiative is the Talk the Book program initiated by APSCHE. The main objective of this program is to inculcate reading habits among students so that they will be benefited with not only acquiring knowledge in their own domain subjects, but to have an overall view of what is happening around in the world and have little of analytical reasoning thinking by reading books. So as I said that today we have the book reviewer, Dr. Vijay Babu Koganti, Professor of English. Dr. Vijay Babu Koganti is not only an administrator come academician, but Dr. Koganti Vijay Babu is known for his literary skills. Dr. Vijay Babu is certified as the ELT Master Trainer for Student-Centered Methodology under English Language Fellow Program of US State Department of English. He had published 7 academic books, 2 creative writings, 1 translation, and 18 critical articles. His publications include Enhancing English and Employability Skills, Poly Skills with Module and Critical Thinking Skills by Cambridge University Press, designed, co-authored, and co-edited Skill Jenny, a book on soft skills published by Government of Andhra Pradesh. He has written an anthology of Telugu poems by the title Ela Ruvadama Rangulu, and a translation of the love poems of late Sri Devi Priya, Sleeping with the Rainbow. An anthology of Telugu poems, Oka Adivaram Sayantram, Inka Itara Kavitalu. He has penned critical articles as chapters in ELT, Indian literature, and South African drama. He has written more than 40 short stories and 50 literary essays. He had received the scholarship by US Embassy for attending a 10-week e-teacher training program course in University of Oregon, and also was awarded scholarship by US Embassy for attending another 10-week e-teacher training program in the year 2012. He was awarded the Andhra Pradesh State Best Teacher Award in 2017, and he is the recipient of Sri Nagabhairava Literary Award for Poetry 2017. Here I present before you Professor Koganti Vijay Babu, Professor in English, Government Degree College for Women, as the book reviewer of this week. Over to Dr. Koganti Vijay Babu.
So good morning. Honorable Secretary Sri Sudhir Prem Kumar Garu, Honorable Chairperson of AP State Council of Higher Education, Professor K. Hemachandra Reddy Garu, the in charge of Quality Assurance Cell, Professor Sri Ranga Matthews, other academic colleagues, and my student friends. Good morning to you all. I sincerely thank the AP State Council for Higher Education for this opportunity of reviewing a book of my choice. You know, book reading habit is very important nowadays. Unfortunately, this great habit is vanishing slowly, and the reasons are many. Maybe the speed of our life, the stress faced in our day-to-day activities and life, and also the upsurge of the social media. My teacher used to say these words: with the advent of calculator, mental math has disappeared. With the advent of TV, thinking, talking, and reading abilities have gone. With the advent of email, the art of letter writing is killed. With the advent of social media, I should add, the academics and the great habits like book reading, writing, all these things are getting slowly vanished. At this juncture, the AP State Council for Higher Education has initiated a great project like Talk the Book, a weekly book review program. This will certainly help the students to develop wonderful skills. Technology is one of the reasons, but technology should be used like money. It will be a bad master if it is not properly used. So using the platform of technology, once again, the AP State Council has come up with a project of Talk the Book. When we were all young, we used to wait for our turn at the library counters to receive books. But a lot of books are available nowadays, but people are not seeing. I'll be surprised if one of my students turns up and asks, "Sir, what kind of books should I read? Which book should I read?" You know, book reading always has several benefits. Book reading reduces our stress, develops knowledge, expands our outlook, gives us analytical thinking skills, makes us better readers, writers, and speakers too. When I was asked to talk about a book, I had several questions in my mind. Which book should I try? Which book should I try to review or introduce? There are many personality development books by writers like Stephen Covey or Shiv Khera. No, I thought a lot of focus is there on such books, even in WhatsApp groups. I should be reviewing or I should be interviewing a book, a great work of literature, because literature reflects life very closely. Literature reflects our aspirations and dreams and hopes as human beings. literature brings an attitudinal change as human beings. So I should be reviewing a book of art. I should be reviewing a literary work. And then I thought, shall I try to introduce or review a writer from the West? No. I again thought I should be reviewing a book that relates us to Indian setting, and it will be more suitable, I thought. That's why I chose The Man-Eater of Malgudi by R.K.Narayan. This is the book, R.K.Narayan's The Man-Eater of Malgudi. Why did I choose R.K.Narayan's Man-Eater of Malgudi? It would be easy for our students as starters when they try to read a book to develop the habit of book reading. In terms of language and style, it will suit them perfectly. Let us say something about R.K.Narayan before I start off reviewing the book. R.K.Narayan is a versatile writer. He is one of the three big novelists who established Indian writing in English, the other two being Mulkraj Anand and Rajaram. R.K.Narayan was born in 1906 on the 10th of October. R.K.Narayan is also known for his great sense of humor and human personality portrayal. Probably you should be remembering or recollecting your watching of Malgudi days on the TV. The wonderful music that was set for introduction of Malgudi days, still it haunts us every minute. R.K.Narayan introduced Indian society with all its sensibilities to other parts of the world. Like Irish people, we Indians, and especially the South Indians, we have our own particular style of living, particular style of address, particular style of humor in conversation. After graduation, R.K.Narayan wanted to settle as a novelist. You know, we all have big dreams, but sometimes it is not possible for us all to achieve them so perfectly. But R.K.Narayan was able to achieve every of his dreams. But R.K.Narayan also struggled. We should not forget this. When R.K.Narayan wrote his first novel, Swami and His Friends, in 1930, several publishers rejected it. It is always the first obstacle that all the writers do face. And he needs approval from the public. If you want approval from the public, it should be published and it should go into the public. So he tried his best, but he could not succeed in publishing the book in 1930. And then after his marriage in 1933, while working as a reporter, he sent the manuscript of Swami and His Friends to his friend Graham Greene, and he got it published there. That was the turning point for R.K.Narayan. Graham Greene, apart from getting the book published, even guided Narayan how he could grab the attention of the English-speaking audience and advised them to target his readers should be the English-speaking audience. He insisted. Between 1937 and 1994, R.K.Narayan published 15 novels. Many of the novels were instant success, like The Financial Expert, Swami and His Friends, Malgudi Days, The Guide, etc. He received several awards like Sahitya Akademi Award for his book The Guide, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan, A.C. Benson medals for British Royal Society of Literature, and several universities honored R.K.Narayan or honored themselves by honoring him with doctorates. R.K.Narayan passed away in 2001, but his books remain in our hearts as, as wonderful examples of Indian literature. In this session, I'm going to review The Man-Eater of Malgudi, written by R.K.Narayan in 1961. Before I start off, I would like to introduce Malgudi, a small town that was created by R.K.Narayan in a beautiful way. When you read Sir Arthur and Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes, you believe that there is a personality called Sherlock Holmes, and you try to write a letter to him also. And Arthur Conan Doyle says that many letters were posted to the address of Sherlock Holmes. Similarly, we all believe that Malgudi is a small town in South India, and it is there. I also, as a child, used to search for Malgudi in the map whenever I wanted to know about it. But it is only an imaginary town created by R.K.Narayan. What is so special about Malgudi? It is a microcosmic representation of India. You can see a mini India there in Malgudi with all the characters, with all the religions, with all the beliefs, superstitions, aspirations, and dreams. R.K.Narayan uses the make-believe technique with all the names, statues, shops, parks, different junction points, place names, and makes it a real thing in our hearts. And the title is The Man-Eater of Malgudi. You know, a man-eater is a wild beast that eats people. It's a tiger. And who is this man-eater of Malgudi? Or what is this man-eater of Malgudi? Let us try to know more about it. What happens if an uncontrollable force, evil force, lands on you and tries to suffocate you with all its brutal power? When you are a weakling, when you are not able to oppose it, when you are not able to push it away from your head, what kind of trauma, what kind of psychological disturbance will you undergo? These are the things that are explained by R.K.Narayan in this book, The Man-Eater of Malgudi. As I shared with you, Malgudi is seen everywhere. Malgudi is mini India, and Malgudi can happen anywhere in any country without any time limits. This book is written in 12 chapters in 240 pages. The protagonist or the hero of the novel is Natras, a printer with his small press in the market road. He is a very silent, pious, innocent man with traditional views. He is a calm-going man with his routine life. He wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning, goes to the river Savrayu, washes his clothes, offers his ablutions, and gets back silently, greeted by many a passerby, greeted by neighbors, and he is such a docile cow. He minds his business, runs his family, loves his son so much. His ancestral home that was broken into parts is in the Kabir Street. His press is a chat center for many people. As you see, in our roads also, at small hotels, at small barber shops. Everywhere, we Indians have a tendency to stop, to go through the newspaper, to discuss the daily political affairs, pass judgments, and vanish. We have these habits there. And his small press is such a chat center where every passerby will be peeping in, sits for some time on the Queen Anne chair of Nataraj. They share political views, they make comments, and they talk about the conditions of Malgudi. And thus his press is an active, vibrating spot with life. Nataraj has three friends: Sen, a political reporter who aspires to become an editor and he wants to run a magazine. And his other friend is Mr. Shastri, an attendant, sometimes turns out to be the master with a lot of traditional knowledge. And also there is a poet who composes monosyllabic poetry on the love of Radha and Krishna. You imagine the situation there. The political man, Sen, talking about the politics of those days and also about the principles of Nehru. And then Shastri peeping in now and then and talking about them, passing a remark. And then the poet now and then reading out a line, expecting approval from Nataraj and others. And then there are wahwas and then a lot of appreciation. A wonderful atmosphere is created in the press. And the dream of the poet who composes monosyllabic poetry is to compose a long poem on the theme of the marriage of Radha and Krishna. Everything goes on well, but suddenly a stranger, a wild eagle from Junagadh forest, stops in front of the press and asks Nataraj to print some name cards. Nataraj is astonished. Who is this stranger suddenly walking into my press and asking for the printing of cards? Vasu, the bully from Junagadh, introduces himself as a taxidermist. Taxidermist is one who kills animals and birds, stuffs them, and sells to the public. Nataraj doesn't know who a taxidermist is, and Nataraj shows interest in Vasu. Vasu is a big bull. He never cares for anybody. And you see how R.K.Narayan describes Vasu. A new head appeared in its place, a tanned face, large powerful eyes under thick eyebrows, a large forehead, and a shock of unkempt hair like a black hammer. He gave me a hard grip. My entire hand disappeared into his fist. He was a huge man, about 6 feet tall. He looked quite slim, but his bull neck and hammer fist revealed his true stature. And this Vasu, this stranger, a bully, he possesses surprisingly a master's degree in economics and English literature. But the sophistication of an educated man never appears in his personality. That Vasu drops in now and the novelist introduces him various ways to show his brute nature. One day, when Nataraj is clearing his attic of the old junk stationery, Vasu drops in suddenly. And Vasu inquires what is going on here. Nataraj involves him by mistake in finalizing the deal with the scrap buyer. And Vasu finds that the attic room on the press is the most suitable place for his underworld activity. After removing the garbage, the old junk, Vasu occupies the attic, even without any word of rent. And Nataraj doesn't have the guts to talk about rent also. He fails to oppose, and whenever Nataraj tries to talk to him, he just brushes him aside. Vasu brushes him aside, and Vasu threatens him with his hammer fist. And he shows the hammer fist every time and says that how he ditched his own guru as a wrestler. Vasu worked as a wrestler along with his guru. They conducted many circus shows, displaying his physical prowess, his muscular build, and one day he ditched his own guru because he Vasu asked for money and that fellow rejected. And Vasu, with all his business skills, makes friends with all the forest officials. There is a small forest area called Mempi Forest, and Vasu goes there. Vasu befriends with all the forest officials and starts killing animals and birds of the Mempi Forest. He is not just happy with the killing of birds and animals of Mempi. He tries to kill and he kills the local pet dogs and animals too. He brings all the carcasses to the attic, cleans the skins, and starts his work. The surroundings of the press become so bad and dirty that all the neighbors lodge complaints against the owner of the press. You see how R.K.Narayan describes the surroundings. He took me to his room. This was my first visit there since he had occupied it. He had his bed draped over with a mosquito net. A table in a corner heaped with clothes and letters, and a trunk with its lid open with all his clothes thrown about. He had tied a string across the room and had more clothes hanging on it. On the little terrace, he had put out some skins to dry. There was a tub in a corner in which the skin of the tiger was soaking. Skins of smaller animals lay scattered here and there, and jungle squirrels and feathered birds were heaped in corners. A lot of wooden planks and molds and all kinds of oddments lay about. Ever since I had given the attic, I had left him fairly alone, not wanting to seem an intrusive host, and all the while he had been surrounding himself with carcasses. The room smelt of decaying flesh and raw hide. He had evidently been very active with his gun, which now rested on his plate. That kind of gory situation is presented. The surroundings of the press become so bad and dirty that all the neighbors lodge complaints against the owner of the press, Nataraj. Even Vasu lodges a complaint with the rent authority, and Nataraj receives a notice from the official. One after the officials of the town start visiting Nataraj, and Nataraj has to answer everybody. Nataraj is perturbed and turns helpless. He even starts worrying about the safety of his own son because 2 or 3 times Vasu asks about his son and asks why this little fellow is disturbing their conversation. And Nataraj is perturbed about his own safety. Nataraj starts worrying. Vasu's unending killing goes on. He kills the pet dogs and bullies even with the neighbors. And after some time, Nataraj comes to know that women with debatable repute are visiting the attic, and the temple dancer Rangi is one. Nataraj is very shocked. You imagine the condition of this innocent, helpless victim. As such, one day, Vasu takes Nataraj to Mempi Hills in his jeep, and his rash, careless driving makes Nataraj very mad. Vasu drops him there and vanishes into the forest. Nataraj doesn't have a single pie in his pocket to come back. He reaches home back at night with the help of Muthu, a tea vendor. You see how R.K.Narayan creates situations and characters. The scene gets shifted between Malgudi and Mempi Hills, and then the Mempi forest. And one day, after some time, Muthu, the tea vendor, visits Nataraj and requests him for helping the temple elephant Kumar, as he has suddenly fallen sick. They do not understand the reason why the temple elephant is not eating anything, and it is not responding to the people, and it has gone very dull, passive, and they suspect something. That's why Nataraj is requested by Muthu to help Kumar. And Nataraj starts his search for a veterinary doctor. And the treatment begins. Kumar is getting recovered slowly. Things are going smoothly. The poet completes his long poem and they want to celebrate it with Radha Krishna Kalyanam in the temple with a huge procession. Nataraj also plans a huge procession with the temple elephant Kumar. They plan all the arrangements, they call the district authorities, and all the speeches are planned, and a great celebration, launching of the copies of the book, and then the next day they plan for a procession. As things are going on like this, one day, Rangi, the notorious temple dancer, meets Nataraj and shares the news that Vasu is planning to kill the temple elephant on the day of procession. Nataraj goes into a great panic. He is thoroughly disturbed. His friends immediately approach the DSP and complain against Vasu. The inspector comes there, questions Vasu. He questions about Vasu and he inspects the attic. And Vasu misbehaves with the inspector also and injures the inspector. The inspector returns helplessly, and Vasu, the bully, dominates the whole scene. All the neighbors, Nataraj, Shastri, and Sen, they become helpless. And at the same time, Sen and Shastri are busy with the arrangements for the procession. The day of procession approaches, and Nataraj becomes very nervous and spends the night at home as ordered by his wife, as he does not feel well also. He tries to watch Vasu, but finds him in a deep slumber in the attic. The procession passes off peacefully. And then we come to know about the death of Vasu, and rumors go against Nataraj, that Nataraj himself has killed Vasu, which is quite impossible. The police officers also come to know that the food that was offered before the night by Rangi was not touched by Vasu, and Rangi herself reveals that she has mixed some sedative in the food so that Vasu will not kill the elephant. And the inquiry goes on, and people come to know that Vasu died due to a heavy blow on his temple. And it goes mysterious. Some of the people do not believe Nataraj is a murderer. Some of the people think that Nataraj is, because he's a direct victim of Vasu. Then it is known that the previous night, in his disgust, Vasu used his hammer fist to kill a couple of mosquitoes that landed on his temple with all his brute force. From the beginning, in the novel, the author, gives a hint that Vasu does not like the presence of mosquitoes. Shastri has been already warning Nataraj. Like all Rakshasas, like all our evil demoniac forces, like Ravanasura, Mahishasura, and Bhasmasura, Vasu also meets his death in his own way. That is Shastri's observation. And Shastri proves himself right. The inquiry also reveals that Vasu gets killed by his own evil power. This is how R.K.Narayan describes. The man had evidently trapped a couple of mosquitoes which had settled on his forehead by bringing the flat of his palm with all his might on top of them. The woman switched on the light and saw two mosquitoes plastered on his brow. It was also the end of Vasu, concluded Shastri, and added that fist was meant to batter thick panels of teak and iron. And then Nataraj says, he had one virtue. He never hit anyone with his hand, whatever the provocation, I said, remembering his voice. Shastri said puckishly, because he had to conserve all that might for his own destruction. Every demon appears in the world with a special boon of indestructibility. Yet the universe has survived all the Rakshasas that were ever born. Every demon carries within him, unknown to himself, a tiny seed of self-destruction and goes up in thin air at the most unexpected moment. Otherwise, what is to happen to humanity? You must have grasped this is the message of the novel. How can humanity survive even in times of adversity? Nature always has a plan to destroy all the evil forces. We may not be able to oppose it. We may not be able to dethrone it, but nature always has a plan to remove, to eradicate evil forces very silently. That's how Bhasmasura met his end. The Asura, or the Rakshasa, with his invincible power, wanted to test his own power on the head of the deity who granted the boon. And how finally, with the involvement of Vishnu through a trick, the Asura himself, perished under the flames. of his own hand. This is how Vasu meets his death. Vasu is the Bhasmasura here, and Nataraj is Nataraj in the novel also. Narayan portrays, if you observe the novel closely, Narayan portrays everyday people whom we see in our life. The sellers of peanuts, vendors, the scrap merchants, vegetable sellers, astrologers, the silent, eccentric neighbors, cunning politicians, schematic bureaucrats, emotional teachers, poets, all these flock the gallery of R.K.Narayan's characters. They have lots of experiences, feelings, and emotions to share even with strangers, though out of context. Narayan arranges his incidents in such a way that they don't appear artificial. You see lot many characters in the novel, but all the characters are meaningfully connected and no character appears to be useless. You cannot remove one character from the novel. There are many flat characters here, like the passers-by, etc. But all the important main round characters are well knit. These characters seek sympathy and suffer from self-pity like most of us. They are all very lovable and adorable for all their innocence. Narayan creates a wonderful gallery and teaches how we can look at life and develop an attitude. Narayan portrays Nataraj in many gloomy situations. With all his panic, because of his inability to deal with the situations. But finally, he gives us a message that we should be positive, we should be optimistic, and we should wait for the end of evil, because nature always provides a platform for it. Though the novel was written in 1961, the novel bears relevance even for the contemporary society, because the theme is universal. Good automatically and ultimately wins over evil. Man-eaters are found everywhere. Even now we have man-eaters amidst us. We should be careful in dealing with them. You cannot oppose them directly. You need a strategy to deal with them. Each character from this novel offers us a scope for study and learn our lessons. If you read the novel, my dear young friends, if you read it closely, you develop a lot of fluency in writing and you develop a lot of felicity in expression. So start reading the novel. You will thoroughly enjoy it. I think that's all for this session now, and hope you enjoyed this session, and let's meet with another book in the coming days. I thank Professor K. Hemachandra Reddy Garu, Professor Sudhir Prem Kumar Garu, and Professor Srirangam Matthews Garu for this opportunity. Over to Professor Srirangam Matthews.
So, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for very neatly portraying the different characters in the novel, Nataraj, Vasu, Shastri, and giving a glimpse of the entire Malgudi. I mean, the man-eater of Malgudi. Maybe the viewers will take home this particular theme of yours. Nature has a plan to destroy the evil forces. Maybe we hope even this particular pandemic, COVID pandemic, is an evil force, and maybe nature will show its mighty or might in eradicating this particular COVID pandemic. So thank you very much for sparing your time with us, spending almost an hour with the viewers for all your insights into the novel. And I also place on record my sincere thanks to Professor Hemchandra Reddy Garu, the chairman of AP State Council of Higher Education, Professor Sudhir Prem Kumar Garu, the secretary of AP State Council of Higher Education, and all other officials, the vice chairman, Professor Rammohan Rao Garu, vice chairperson, Professor Lakshmama Garu, and all the other officials of APSCHE who are striving hard to bring in this particular type of initiative, which is going to help the young generation. So thank you, viewers, and let us be back again next Friday between 11 to 12 with a book review, and the book will be a Telugu one. So alternatively, we are having English and Telugu. So next week, we'll have a book review on a Telugu book review. So thank you all, and stay safe, stay at homes. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir. Thank you very much.